Hey, welcome to the video. So I'm going to go over building applications using FlutterFlow and Supabase. So one of the reasons I decided to use FlutterFlow is I kept looking for some rapid application development platforms where you could just do low code and put together applications quick. The majority of what I found at ridiculous expenses, like $10 per user. There's just so many of them out there, but all of them are just far too expensive for some simple applications that I needed. Now, personally, in my application, they did move away from Supabase. I went ahead with my own API, which I'll probably make some classes on too, using C# to make APIs for your FlutterFlow app. But in this tutorial, we'll go over using FlutterFlow with Supabase. Now, the application I didn't want to make, let's see, it's most likely going to be a an application where a parent can assign different chores for different amount of money for a child, just something simple to try to figure out. And we're going to use some of the free templates that are available on FlutterFlow. So that's basically our starting point though. So we need to get to FlutterFlow. So we're going to go to flutterflow.io and we're going to click start for free. And actually, we'll just take a look here for pricing wise. I mean, it's free, $0 per month. Start building and testing your application today. You get to visit Application Builder, hundreds of pages of component templates. You get mobile, web, and desktop apps, so you can cover all your bases on there. You do get API. Now the API restrictions on the free is you basically get one API. So if you did have some external data you wanted to pull, you could use that to get it. But of course, with Supabase, you get a ton of functionality with its built-in integration to that. So we're going to go ahead and create an account. All right. And we don't need notifications. All right. Go ahead and sign up here. All right. And they do have some great tutorials you can go through showing you how to start out. Because, of course, by default, you've got yourself an app here with not much in it. But what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the main Flutter page itself, the dashboard. All right. We don't need to know about that right now. All right. So we're going to go to the marketplace. It's amazing how many free templates are on here. And of course, there is paid for templates as well. But let's see here, like GPT apps, dashboard apps. There's authentication page, nav bar showing you. And some of these are just like demonstration of how to do. Like this is a nav bar with page and animation, and then top templates. See, here's a nice, a dashboard template here that's free. If you wanted to make a store, you could do that one. Here's another responsive dashboard template. Let's see here. I'm trying to pick one that I think would work good here. Let's look at free ones here. Oh, health and fitness app. Let's see here. This one's pretty. I've used this one before. It's a nice CRM. But there's one. Let me see here. I think it was from a group called No Code. Oh, right here. This one here, O3 dashboard, template app, No Code UI. Let's go ahead and just click on this one. All right, and it's free. We're going to click Add Now. And some reason these two do not share their sign in, so sign in again. Oh, got to get it right. There we go. All right, and looks like it didn't do it, so I'm gonna go back here. No code is what it was on. There it is. All right, click it. Now that I'm signed in, add it to my dashboard. All right. Okay. And of course, now that it's on my templates, under my items, just create a project. And here we go. We don't want the travel app. All right, we're going to call this one the allowance app. All right. So right away it pulls us up to the editor page. Let's give a quick tour here. So when you're on a page, here's all your components that your common components you can add to the page. Now if you go here, this says widget tree. Of course, this is actually, so the main base page we're on, sign in, and here's a scrolling column, which is here, and then a container which holds all these different, all these different little pieces that make up the components of the UI. What we're going to look for here, scroll this here, and here's all of our pages. So of course we got a home page, right? We've got, and this, of course, this one had example of like like if you had courses, and here's your profile page. And onboarding, they made a little folder here to connect, sign in, sign up, create profile, all the basic stuff to go with it. So you can set up all the different little pages. It's kind of nice. These templates come with a lot of little, a lot of little pieces that you need to begin with. All right, so as an example, all right, when we look at the back end of this, there's going to be some more stuff here. A lot of these apps, of course, are set up for Firebase. I didn't use Firebase. I prefer to use, and of course, they want me to connect it. But they pre-built in. If you look here, this is your Firestore. So this was the stuff that would be on your Firestore if you were to use Firestore for it. And it kind of always lives there, even though we're not going to use Firestore. And then we've got data types. So data types here, you can make your own schemas, and these are good for, let's say, you're loading data from API or loading data from the database. You can have the schema defined here, and it'll, first name, last name, all the different variables, whether or not it's a list or not a list, and that way you can map things. And then you've got app values. So you've got app state values, and these are, let's say you've got a value that needs to persist between sessions, or it's just a global value that you need to exist between pages. And even constants, if you have some constants you need to have defined between pages. And then on this one here, API calls. This is where we would add our API calls. And your media assets, if you had any images you wanted to go on the project. And then here is where we can do custom code, custom functions. If we want to do custom widgets, because you can get custom widgets, things like that, from dev.pub. And you can get, there's a bunch of stuff on dev.pub you can get for, Dart/Flutter. And this is just some more cloud stuff that we really don't worry about. And here's where we set, so we've got a dark mode and a light mode. See, light mode theme, dark mode theme. Then we can come in here and we can set all of our different colors, that color codes for each background type, and we can enable and disable those different modes if we want to here. But this way, when you're going and picking your colors, you have all your colors defined here. That way it's fluid between all your different pages, so everything looks the same. And then it's just some general app settings. You get, when you go here, you got the app details, your name, the initial page, you want them to go to the sign-in page. After signed in, you want them to go to the login page. You can download, there's different options for how the assets are handled. Right? And if you were to use it on a mobile device, you got your URL scheme here. This is how, and something would be able to pass data to your app from another app. And of course, your assets, your splash page, your launcher icon, some of these basic assets that are needed. And these are, of course, your bars. So depending on your layout, you're going to have a nav bar and an app bar. And of course, you can see here, show nav bar, and it's set to show the nav bar on, a phone. And then of course a certain size tab. It depends on the tablet. So this is a tablet in portrait mode, where it's not on a tablet when it's in landscape mode. And then of course PC. And that's what your nav bar looks like, which is configured on another page. And then just more styling, how you want your headers and things like that. Back arrows. And then I've not done the walkthroughs. Collaboration, of course, here's your Firebase configuration. Languages, platforms. Now down here, of course, will be Supabase right there. This is how we'll enable Supabase or Supabase. All right. So first, let's typical, of course, when you want to start off, you're going to need your users to be able to log in. So we need to get over to Supabase. Supabase.com. All right. Now, here's what's great about Supabase. Also free. For passion projects, you get unlimited API requests, 50,000 monthly active users in your app, 500 megabyte of database space, which is a 2-core shared CPU, 1 gig of RAM, You also get 5 gig of bandwidth, 1 gig of file storage, and all that on a free plan, which is probably sufficient for a lot of small apps, or at least starting apps. Because once you go here and maybe start making money, you can move up to here where you can get a bigger database, you can get more bandwidth, you get all that extra that you need. All right, so we're just going to go here to start for free. All right, and let's see here, sign up. Oh, okay. All right, my confirmation email. Oh, I had one from here, didn't even realize it. Go ahead and take care of that one. All right, and I should be getting one from, there it is, Supabase. Go ahead and confirm that one. All right, we are in. So what we're going to do is we're going to start a new project. All right, name, same name. We're just going to call this one for our allowance tab. Personal free plan, create organization. Go. And actually, I probably shouldn't have called the organization allowance, but we're going to go ahead and just call this one the project allowance DB, because this would, the organization would actually be like whatever you're going to call your, or just name it after yourself. All right, there we go. And this is going to be your password for the database itself. All right, and of course region. In my case, I'm East Coast, so I'm just going to go ahead and pick East Coast, but that's more along the lines of who you think is going to be using your app and where the best performance will be. All right, there we go. Now, what they give you here is your private API keys. So the deal with the way Supabase works is especially on FlutterFlow, your application is running completely client side. And with the client side application, there's anybody can see this key, right? So anybody can then use this key to get to your data. Now, your application know when someone does sign in to Supabase also gives you a JWT secret. So you've got this. Well, they use the secret here to create a JSON web token. So your token now contains information about the user. So in order to secure the database, which is Postgres, is use row level security, so that without this with this key they can't do anything, because they also need a valid JWT, and that also shows what user it belongs to. That way you can then define what access they have on each row. So if we think about the grand scheme, let's say this application is going to have multiple families that come into it. So just like in a corporate world, each family would be like an organization or a company. And then you've got your members and your users of that family. So we'd have to make sure that for the security to work properly, every table will need to have like the family ID on it, so that first when we do the queries, we make sure that the when we're asking for data on this family ID, that secret belongs to somebody who's in that family, so that then the data can be revealed and shown. Same with insert. So if we're going to insert a new row, you can only insert that row to a family ID that we know belongs, that person or user is a member of. So it's one of the things we have to kind of think about, how the data is going to live in this realm of row level secrets, so that we can make sure the data is secure. Because of course by default there is no security on it, but then anybody with your API key there could insert and delete data all they want to. You definitely don't want that. So with that, which makes it a little more difficult when you're using Supabase. The one issue that I have with it, of course, is if you want to do some of these, there's no joins when you're using it into FlutterFlow. FlutterFlow won't let you do like custom queries. So basically, what you do is you make views. So once you get your view set up, then of course you can set the row level security on the view. So here we go. We did get our, got our nice little thing here. So, and of course, now that's created, we've got a table editor where we can click here, we can create new table. By default now, they didn't used to, but now default they are enabling row level security. So we'll have to work on that as we go through. And of course, here's your ID. And of course, it's integer 8. But if you're gonna have automatic IDs, 8's probably not enough. You want to go a little. Well, actually, no, 8 is enough. Sorry, I was thinking 8 bits, but it's 8 bytes, which is huge. I mean, or you could go with UUIDs. Of course, when we're talking about a web app, if you're passing an integer versus a UID. So the UID in every row will be in every row, right? And then the UID is 36 bytes, versus this numeric integer, which is going to be much smaller when you're talking about passing stuff back and forth in JSON. So it's much better just to go with this integer. And UIDs are good if you were going to scale this application and it's going to be on multiple servers. There's no with all with multiple servers, so you need to make sure you have unique identifiers between all the servers. You would go with UID, but this application is going to be small, and even if it did have a couple thousand users on it, it wouldn't worry about it because they're not going to be scaling to another database. And when you're talking about scaling, I mean with the plans they have available, you're scaling vertically, right? So when you're scaling vertically, you don't have to worry about sharding or any of that or splitting the data across multiple servers, where you would need UUIDs. And if it ever come to that, you could actually still get around it and use these by, when you have data hosted, or you have when a user signs in, you could actually start assigning users to another server and have that data on their user account, and then the application would know it needs to reach out to another server to get that particular user's data. So you can shard them that way without actually having to shard the database itself. There's a couple of ways. So we'll leave this here. But the table we're going to make to start off with, we're just going to call it users. So internally, Supabase has its own user database, and you can enable its built-in, username and password features that it has. But you can also, what's cool about it, it has built-in connectors to most social accounts: Gmail, Microsoft 365, Facebook. It's countless. It's a huge. We'll take a look at the list in a minute, but it is a lot of different users, different automatic authentication methods, which is kind of nice because you don't want to really go off system. You want to use somebody else's that's got one put together, whether it be in Supabase using theirs, or if you want them to just connect you using 365 or Google or many of the other the third-party providers that provide authentication. So it's quickly and easy to federate your application. All right, so we got our users here. A couple things we're going to need in here. We didn't, we're talking about their user ID. So the user ID is automatically generated. It's a backend table you really don't have much access to inside of Supabase. That one is highly restricted. But when a user signs up, it assigns them a user ID, and it'll be a good. So what we're going to go ahead and in here, oh yes, I accept your analytics. All right, so here's all the different data types, of course, in float 4, float 8, numeric, JSON, JSONB, text, varchar, UUID, date, time, time Z, timestamp Z, bool. But in this case, I can't remember off the top of my head if it's a UID or if it's, or what the type is. I'm just going to go ahead and just go to varchar. Now, it's weird. They do not ask you the size. I haven't really looked into it. I'm so used to, if I want to do that, I would put 36. But in this case, though, sometimes user IDs, and I know I've dealt with it when I'm using some third-party authentication like Auth0. It's not a UUID. It's a string of characters that they've come up with as a representation of the user. So it may actually be better to use this method. And then we're going to need we could store the family here if we want to, or we could store the family in another table and then use a table link. Because the thing about reality is maybe someone's got more than a family. Maybe it's a divorced couple, and let's say the child's got weekends with dad, but dad wants to use this app too. Mom's got the app, so there's a chance that the person could be more than one family. So if we put the family on this table, then it'll be much difficult to add it. So maybe we'll make another table that we can use to link the two together. So we've got our ID, our created at user ID, and then we can put some additional data on here if we want to keep track of it. But for now, I'm just going to leave it very basic. We'll have our numeric ID and then the user ID. And the reality is we actually probably don't even need this table, right? Because there's built in a backend table that has this data already. So, and that data built in will also have their email address. So all that stuff comes in already in the back end. So honestly, we don't need this table, but let's say you wanted to have some extra parameters about this user, because if you look back at FlutterFlow, it wants to know, do you like dark, if the user's dark mode or light mode, or maybe you've got some extra parameters about the user that you want to save. You could go ahead and just keep them in this table right here. So for now, I'm just going to go with the bare minimum, when it was created and the user ID. And maybe I'll add one, called last login. Maybe you want to know when the last time they logged in. All right. So we'll go ahead and take out the time zones on that, use this, and we'll just leave that like that. And let's hit save. All right. And that's our first table. All right. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and make another table here. Like I said, we want the table for the family. All right, and we're level security, which is nice. All right, created at, which is fine, and we'll just go ahead and give it the family name. Same, we'll just make this one varchar as well, so we can have our unique family names. And we got the created at for it. So, and now for this, we may want to think about maybe allowing one person to be the designated like owner of the family, the person who controls the account. We could do this here, or we could store it in a secondary table. I'm thinking in my head, maybe I will just store it in a secondary table. Now, if you did have some foreign keys, so you can actually relate these. Let's say you had a bunch of data that belonged to this family, and we can later what we'll do is we'll set up a foreign key relationship for these like let's say it's a tasks table, the tasks of what we want the children to do. We'll go ahead and relate it to this family using a foreign key. We'll do that on the other table. But what's cool about it is that you can enable, let's say you want it to automatically delete. So if this family gets deleted, everything cascades and it'll delete all those too. So we could relate the users to the family. Delete the family, it deletes the user. But I don't think I want to go that far. We'll just for now leave it like this and we'll go ahead and save. All right. But the main thing that we're actually here for is let's go to the database and then, or was it the database? I think it's under home here. We wanted to go back and get that key. So project settings. Where do they hide it? Saw it on the first page, and now that I'm in here, infrastructure. Of course, it's cool about infrastructure. It shows you, what go-to version, what post-rest version you're on. Because you can actually, if you make this database, you can make other applications it uses using Postgres library, which you can get for JavaScript, C Sharp, Python. I mean, you can get it from many different languages, right? And of course, it's showing here it's hosted in AWS, and US East 1 is the region. And you can even get data about how much CPU you're using, how much memory you're using, your disk I/O bandwidth. So they have some good information there. All right, integrations, of course, GitHub, uh, Vercel, Vercel integration. All right, let's see. Let's go to authentication. So allow new users to sign up. Of course, we want that turned on, and you can set your minimum password. So we make sure that that's set up for us. User sessions, we're not gonna free. You have to upgrade for that, so we can make sure that there's only one session, so people can't double log in. And we don't have SMTP. We're not going to set that up right now. So if we wanted to, though, we could have it send mail, etc. And of course, here's how long your token's good for, which is 1 hour. So after an hour, let's say you leave the app and you don't come back, because the app itself will keep your token updated automatically, and it'll do the refresh token, take care of that for you. But if you leave the app for over an hour, it's done. So you could actually change this to increase it if you wanted it to have more time. So here's the options for refresh tokens. And of course, you can do MFing. All right. Let's see here. Under add-ons, dedicated custom domain. Of course, yeah, you can get custom domains for your data. There's a lot of different things. Storage. So you can actually, if you needed to, store your media on their site. They give you, free plan has fixed upload file of 50 meg, and let's see here. There's I think 5 gig. Yeah. So, well, actually, upgrade to the Pro plan, you get 5 gig. But so you do get some storage in here if you wanted to store some of the media on here or things like that, you could. Oh, so here, back on this over here is where I wanted to go for authentication. All right, policies. So row level security is enabled, right? Users and row level security enabled for this table. This is the use, yeah. So these are the two that I just made. Just give it a status on it. Let's go to policies. This is where you can set up all your policies. So here's our email policy. We want to enable the mail provider. We want to do a confirmation email. I'm just going to turn that off. It'll help just at first trying to get the app developed. It's so much easier to test users and not have to do a confirmation email. And secure email change, basically requiring them to prove that they have that email before you change to it. All right, which I'll go ahead and save this. All right. And of course, SAML's nice, but you have to have the pro level version to use SAML. But they do have Apple, Azure, Bitbucket, Discord, Facebook, Figma, GitHub, GitLab, Google, Kakao, don't know that one, Keycloak, LinkedIn, via OIDC, Notion, Twitch, Twitter, Slack, Spotify, WorkOS, and Zoom. So they have all of those. Really nice. I mean, and of course, right away you're thinking like, oh, I mean, some people have Google, so easy. So you just got to sign up for your Google developer account, and they'll give you the client ID, client secret, and you can enable Google sign in right on the app. You don't have to worry about them, creating one in your system, which is kind of nice. All right, let's go back to the data because I want to find out where my database key is. Reference ID. Restart the project. Oh, sometimes you can actually reboot the VM that your project's being run on. If there's some kind of issue, you can also automatically pause the project. So if on the free one, if nothing's accessing your data in your project, it will automatically shut down to save them money, and you'll get a notice, and then as soon as you'll have to go back in to fire up your project to get it running again. No, here it is. So under settings and then under API. All right, so we need this public key right here. If you notice here, it says anon and public. So this key gives them, when someone connects to your database, anon access for anonymous and public. And this comes into play with the row level security. All right. So, and we'll go back to FlutterFlow. Where's there? We're going to close these out. We don't need those anymore. All right. So we're going to go over here to the settings and Supabase. We're going to turn Supabase on. And we're going to go ahead and put the key in. So there's our key. And in our URL, close that tab. All right, so here it is right here. Here's our URL. That's the host that our machine's on. So these tabs out of here. All right. Oh, click the wrong link. There it is. All right. And then what we do is we tell it to get, now anytime you update your schema, you add a new table or you add a new view, you have to get schema. It'll automatically map it in. Boom, boom, boom. Right. So you're good to go. So let's go back on our app. And so the first thing we're going to want to take a look at is the sign up page. We've got to get people into this. So we're going to go on let's move this tree. This is actually new because it used to be two separate things on here. So we're going to go to onboarding and we're going to go to sign up. So this is what the sign up page looks like. Of course, you can change your images. So if you notice, they have a light mode, they have a dark mode image. So, and to show which image, you'll notice there's a conditional. It's just, see this little eyeball is basically the conditional, where you can see that there's a conditional set on this. So here's the image, and then if you look over here to the right, there's visibility is turned on with the conditional. And what they did here is condition, they went through set conditions, and let me clean. I don't want to go. And there's a global property that says is light mode, and of course, we don't want to say not light mode, but is light mode, and they use that to see whether or not it's visible or not, because that just comes back as a boolean, and boom, yes or no. So each one of these, depending on your mode, shows the correct thing. And of course, if we want to, see, we can click on any one of these, right? And you can just edit. So here's get started, right? Come over here. Here's the text itself. You can pick what view you want this object to be on. If it's the opacity of it. You've got Some other options you'll start to learn as you go through how you want it to expand. And here's your padding. Do you need to pad it a little more on the top, bottom? You can pad it some more. And then here's your font weight. And your primary, your font right now is just set to they've got a couple options, custom fonts, theme fonts, Google fonts. We'll just leave that one as the primary font family, but you can come here and you can set, that. You can change styling. And of course your text color. I was mentioning colors for setting the theme. So here they all are. And like, well, I want this one to be in the alternate color. Boom, there it is. And now it's in the alternate color. And of course, if you really wanted to, we go back to the color here, you can do conditional. So you could do more conditionals on it. But of course, by default, it automatically knows to do the alternate color for whatever color mode it's in. So because we have the two different ones, dark mode, light mode, it'll actually automatically pick the correct color as long as we've got the names set up here correctly to match. And then you can change line height, text, the alignment of the text. You can do gradients. You can do some things like that. But the main feature here, since we're on the sign up page, and we didn't enable Google, we didn't enable any of these. So right away, I'm gonna go ahead and remove these. We're just gonna, whoop, I gotta go down here. So if we click on it here, there it is. It finds it here. I'm gonna go ahead and just delete this whole row because I don't need it. I'm not gonna do any of those logins right now in the app. And of course, when I click that, brings us over here. We don't need this whole row. And already have an account login. That'll be good. We want that one on there in case someone goes to the wrong. Continue as guest. I don't think so. We do not want that either. Let's get that out of here. All right, so now we've got our app all set up. Here's the fields, and you can see we click on this. If you look up here, email address is the field name, right? And we look up here, password is the field name. Good. All right, and then we go to the button. So if you look, when you scroll on this list over here, this little arrow with it means it has actions. So we've got a couple actions here on this one. So you can quickly scroll through the list and see where the actions are. So I got some actions on this button. So we go over here and look across the top, you'll see this arrow for actions. And then we'll open the flow editor. So of course it says auth create count. The problem is this project's most likely set up originally with Firebase. So we're going to switch. We're going to click that. We're going to go to backend database, Supabase, and let's see here. Oh, where's? I think insert rows base. Nope. I think I forgot to change something first. We're going to go back to settings, and then we need to go to authentication. Here it is, authentication. Authentication's Firebase. No, we want to do Supabase. All right. So that changes that. So now we can go back to the widget tree. Got sign up. We'll go back to open. Now if I go here, auth create account email, it's automatically set in Supabase, but we can check it anyways. Back in database, and then Supabase authentication now shows up. All right, create account. Boom, it is. All right, and then went to the email field, which we had on there. We had the email address was the name of that box, and then password. Now we do not have a confirm email field, but Supabase wants it. And of course, we can't use the same one twice. Look, I tried to do it. It says project issues. One error. The password and confirm password text have to be different. All right, fine. Let's click close. All right, so if we look here in this, we've got a row for email address. We've got a row for password. Let's see how easy this is. We're going to right click it. We're going to click copy. Actually, in this case, I'm going to go to duplicate. Boom, duplicate. Now, of course, it duplicated and it put it, Lord knows where. Let me see if I can find it here. Padding com, row, email address, row password, and, or did, the text image is copied. Yes, allow. I think my keyboard, I don't think it duplicated. Let's do that again. I didn't realize. Duplicate. There you go. This time it duplicated. All right. So just to keep these here, of course, is a row, and you can change the name of the row. You can see up here. It does help to have these named. So we're going to call this one row, and then of course we don't really need to say row. We can see by the icon it's a row, but we're going to go ahead and call it row and password confirm. All right, that'll help us know that that is. And the field name, can't have two passwords, is also password confirm. All right. And we also says enter your email here, into email here. maybe change that to say confirm. Let me see here. Probably scrolled past it, but the hint, there it is, hint text into your email here. Please confirm your email here. All right. So now we've got that. So now we've got what they asked for. We got email address, password, and I'm going to go ahead and see the little box at the top too, which says password. This is the label. Let's go ahead and say confirm on that one. Just to give it a better idea, not conform. Confirm. All right, so now confirm password. Looks a little cleaner. Good. Let's go back to sign up. Click on sign up, go back to actions, go back to here. All right, now there it is. All right, confirm password. Now you get here, note, that this action does not create a user row in Supabase table for you, but you can add an action to create one after the Supabase account has been created. Due to Supabase auth behavior, we also recommend disabling the email verification requirement of Supabase sign and instead handling the logic within the app if necessary. We already did that as I went through when we were setting up Supabase. I recommended turning that off. And navigate automatically. Whether to automatically navigate to the next page after the action is completed. Disable to customize the navigation. I'm gonna. I'll turn this off because the next page, in the cases when we saw deep into settings, after login, you can tell to go to the home page. But what we want to do here is like they had it set up to navigate to create profile, and we could do that as well. I haven't really looked at the profile page, but But one thing we need to do is what they said. So we need another action. We need to be able to insert that row for that new user that in that table we have. So I'm going to go ahead and click plus right here, and I'm going to say add action. All right, gives us an action, not find. All right, good. So we're going to see it says backend database. All right, backend database, and then we're going to go to Supabase. We're going to go to insert row. All right, the table. It already knows our table source, user, right? And it knows the fields, right? So the ID field, we don't want to do. That's going to be an automatically generated field. But what we do want, so let's click it, and we're going to say, and because we're inserting a row, the created at was automatically set. We're going to go ahead and say user ID. All right, the value. All right, so we're going to click here. This is going to show us what we have available. And so these are all like the different values from the widgets that were on the screen, the username, password, email address, all that different stuff. There's global properties, there's a bunch of stuff in here. Is the user logged in? Current time, current device location. There's a couple different screen, fraction of the screen width, things like that. Is it Android? Is it web? Is it iOS? There's like a ton of great, is it dark mode? There's so many different options in here. But we're going to go back. We're going to go to authenticated user because after that step, the user is now authenticated. And what we want is the user ID of the backend that was assigned in there. That way, we always know that that user ID from the backend goes to our table. And then we're going to go ahead and we did add a new one in there on top of it. Last login, they logged in. So let's go ahead and set that value as well. Now in here, on options, date time from Unix. There it is. Boom. All right. And microseconds and time unit, microseconds. I think that's what we, oh, microsecond. Give me a second. I've used this before. Something change? Because the Unix timestamp. Let me cancel that. I think I may have down the wrong path there. Unset. Take time from Unix, and then I know we can, let's see here, global parameters, current time. Is that what it wanted? Time unit, microseconds. Or actually, if that's the case, let's just set that way. Maybe that's what I'm doing wrong. We'll just go back to global properties and we'll say current time. There we go. That made it happy. I'm not sure what the datetime from Unix one is. I might have to look that up. And then, so let's say that if this was to have a result set, or if it was to have something, you could actually give a variable name for that. You can also make the calls non-blocking. Like if you just do this, it'll automatically redirect to the other page because you don't really need to wait for this step to come back. But I'm going to go ahead and leave it as a blocking call. But this right here makes sure that we get the data in the table. So now that the user is created in a table. But let's go ahead and just say, I'm going to call this create user. All right, and that's it. So now click back on it, create user. Let's check see what kind of conditionals we can get on that. So let's go here. Oh, didn't mean to add that. We're going to delete that action. We're going to say add conditional. So we have because we just did that action, here's our action. We just did it. Action outputs is here, right? So, and we called it create user. So what options do we have? Let's see, it created. So apply opposite statement, action output. So in this case, there is no like, sometimes you'll see in some of them, is it successful or not successful? And in this case, we do not have that. So we don't have to worry about that. Super row fields. I mean, here's our last login, but it's not really taking. So it's not something we'll do in this case. But I've use it for API calls all the time, so I can ensure that the data did do what it was supposed to do. So I'm gonna go ahead and just delete this action. We don't need that. Now the next thing, of course, is where do we want to go after this? And they had to go to the profile page, so why not? Let's go to the profile page. So we're going to add action, and we're going to say navigate to, and we're going to say create profile, and allow back navigation. No, we don't want them to go back from that page back to the sign up page. So we want to stop that. Transition type you can set, if you want to instant default. I'm just going to leave it to default. We don't be all fancy with slide up and slide down. That's all we need. All right, create profile. So what does the create profile page look at? And I assume it's under the onboarding section. Right? Oh, there it is. Create profile. Your name, your city, your state, and your bio. All right. Well, so when we're looking at this here, you got your name, city. Do we really need that? Do we really need state? No. So I'm going to go ahead and find these on here, and we're just going to delete them. And we don't need the state, and we don't need the bio. Now, since we're creating a family, so if you think about a new user signing up in this application, they're going to, of course, if there's no, we have to figure out like the logic of it. When they go to sign in, let's say they're the parent, they're going to want to create a family. So we need an option in here. Are you creating a family or are you joining a family? So in this section here, I mean, we could leave this right here, your name, or we could actually go with, make another button in here, or just change this whole thing up to, have an option flow of creating a new family or joining a new family. Now, for joining a family, we would need some type of way to do it. Maybe you could just say join a family and by email address, right? So it automatically knows. So if a parent invites you by email address, boom, you're automatically part of the family. So there's some logic we want to work out in there. But what we should do is instead of create profile like this, well, also we don't need a picture, right? I mean, we could put pictures, but we'll just go ahead and I'm gonna change this to create family. All right, so we're gonna create family, and we'll change it here as well. Your name, and instead of your name, your family name. All right, and then up here we'll change the name here too. That way it looks good in code. All right. All right, save. Here we go. Create family. Oh, I wanted to get rid of this whole row. All right, no pictures. There it is. Nice and simple. Your family name. Now, in the back on the sign up page, think about it here. There's probably a step missing after sign in or sign up to see if you already belong to a family. So of course, like I said, that would be by email address. Now, one thing if you think about we didn't do is we didn't put their email address in the user table. So in order for them to join an existing family, if we want to do it by email address, we're going to need to do that. So we go back to here, and we're going to go over here to this table. Click on users. All right, now we want to edit this table. We can click three little dots, edit table. All right, let's go ahead and add a column. We want that email address. We're going to need it. Really simple. All right, saved. Right now, if we come back here, we need to get out of this because we need to go back over here to load gear, and then we go over to Supabase, and we're going to get the schema. Yep, it's going to overwrite your schema, we know. But if we go to users, there it is. Email address is now in here. All right. All right, now we'll go to open here. So we got the row inserted. Before we get to create profile, maybe that's not if they're a child that's joined the family, they don't need to create the profile. So let's check and see if they belong to if they belong to a family already. All right, so let's go to add action and let's do a query. So we're going to go back to backend database and then we're going to go to Supabase. Let's see here, Supabase right here. We're going to query some rows. All right, so now query rows. All right, table. We're going to pick users. Actually, I need to think about this. We're missing another table. We can't query this yet. We need a table that links members of the family. Kind of doing this all off the cuff of my head as I think about it, but let's go ahead and make a new table here. Let's go to a new table and we'll say family members. All right. We're going to have a couple different columns here. We're going to have a family ID, which we had that as in date, right? And then we're going to have another column here, and then we're going to have user ID, right? And then we'll say int 8 as well, right? Now, in the future, we may need some more data, like are they the like a parent, or we can say is parent, right? And we'll just go ahead and say Boolean, right? And let's just go ahead and set this to false. By default, we'll say that they're just in case, right? And then, I mean, of course, if they're not a parent, then by default they're a child. So I was going to make one for that, but we'll leave that up just as some simple access levels. I mean, you go deeper. You can have adult children that also do it, but hey, whatever. We'll just keep it simple. Hit save. All right. Now back to here again. All right. And then get schema instantly. Boop, new table there. And one issue I was thinking about there was like I had mentioned before, Supabase does not allow you to join, right? So how am I going to find if this person is a member of that family? All right, so we're going to need to make a view. And back to the SQL editor. All right, create view. And we'll just call them, this is a, because we already have a table called family members. So we'll just call it view family members. All right. And then we're going to select star. Actually, well, we need the user ID. Yep. ID, actually, we need the main table will be family. And it's good at hints. It's pretty good. I haven't quite got what the symbols yet, but family. It's like from family, where family equals. I'm trying to remember how we pass in values to this for filters. Maybe I'll come back on we'll come back on the second lesson and we'll build this because one thing we haven't set up yet is row level security. Now, when we get to row level security, that's going to be another fun one because now we need to start locking these down. Actually, I have some pull up real quick another Supabase account I have and I have that information. Take a second to sign in on my other screen. Oh. All right. Here's, just grab one from another. All right, view from another project of mine, family members. All right, select, and of course we want to know the family.id. All right, and of course family.name. Right. All right, and then we want the user dot users.id. There we go. Now let's go ahead and grab their email as well. All right. Users.id, users mail. All right. It's probably pretty much everything we need in this little table right here. All right. And then we'll go ahead and get them from the family table first. So we'll say from family. And then we're going to join family members on family members dot, where is that? Family ID equals family.id. So that's our first join. All right, and then now we're going to join users on, oh, we don't see, if you notice here, there's two users. I probably should have named it something different, but there's users, and you can see that's in the auth table. Then there's my users table. All right, users on, and then we'll say users dot. Actually, here's all the fields that actually belong to the main user table. It's quite a bit of data in there. Now, I want to make sure that we get our table. I think if we say public dot, yeah, public dot users. There we go. That makes sure it gets the right table on public dot users dot. Oh, no, still in the wrong table. I guess that was a bad idea on naming it that. Give me 1 second here. I know there's a way to address which table we are accessing here. We may need it here as well. Equals, let's see here. Yep, family members. So we want to say family members dot user ID. All right, so now we've got those two joined together. Now we can see who belongs to a family. All right, let's go ahead and run that. Oh, left join. Oh, forgot that. Public users on public.users.id. Okay. No, it is not liking that. Let's see here. See if there's a, because I always thought I needed to put public in front of it to be able to access it, but maybe not. Maybe easier to rename that table if this is going to be a if this is gonna, yes, oh, I think that's what it is. Private dot. See if that makes it happy. It did not. All right. I'm going to go ahead and keep this here. We're going to go back here. We're going to rename this table, make our life a little easier. Let's see here, duplicate table, and we're just going to call it my users. It's odd it even let me use that name when I created it. So let's just go ahead and delete that. Yes, there's nothing in there. Deleting. All right. Let's see here. Go back to SQL editor. See, that's great because after I ran it, it stored it here. It kind of automatically names your query for you. So, and now we've got a table called my users. There we go. ID. Beautiful. Now we can do it. My users dot email, and same thing here. My users to my users dot ID. My users dot ID to family members ID. All right. And let's see, from family members left join on, and left join my users. Whoop. Email address. There we go. Run. Okay. Oh, ID column specified more than once, so we have to make that. Let's see here. Family.id. And then I think as family ID and as user ID. Oh, let's see what the requirements are for Postgres and aliases. Oh, we don't even need to do all that. Looks like it's I use so many different versions of SQL that every one of them is slightly different. And near the word family, family name. And this is on line 5. Now, lead to my comma. There we go. All right, success. No rows returned. Good, because we haven't made any data yet in there. But this will now give us that view, and then we can try to find if someone is in that view. So now we got to go back to our app, and let's tell it to get that schema again. Of course, our table, my users, is gone. See, check it out. Views now show up down here. It's fantastic. We got to go back here. We got to go back to sign up, and then under the insert row, can't insert into that table. We need to insert to my users. All right, user ID, all that's still there. It's good to go. It says we have a bug. Table is not set Supabase action for button login. Oh, that was what we're working on. All right. So we want to see under view family members, filters. Here we go. So now we do filters. And then we want to filter by their email address. And if their email address is equal to, and we can go over here to authenticated user email. All right, so let's see if they belong to a family already. All right, and here we're going to go ahead and family results. All right, now we can put a conditional. All right, so let's add a conditional, and then let's see here. We've got action. Let's see here. Where's my family results? Base, widget state, action outputs, family results. Look at that. It automatically knows that it's a list of a row from view family members, which is great. So think about this. If the list contains an item, they have a family already, right? So we don't need to know about the first few items, is set, not empty, which is also good, would work as well. But does the list contain items? Oh, actually, this is if the list contains a certain item. We don't need it. Okay, so let's just say is set and not empty. All right, you can also get it. Look, there's like a bunch of different things. Filter list items, number, of course, number of items. And let's see here. Is that it may be better to, if it's set and not empty. We can just use that if it's set and not empty. Because there's other ones we can do on the conditional itself. You can do conditional if then else. So we'll just do, like I said here, you can do comma ands and ors. We'll just do that one. First value. We don't want to do the first value. We can say, let's say the action output. Let's go back to that. And then there we go, number of items. So now by doing it and changing it there like I just did, we get number of items. So we're looking at number of items and equal to the second value. We'll say 0, right? So, or we can, if we want to work on the positive side, we can say if it's greater than. So if we look here, oh, actually, I picked it up here later. Number of items equals 0. We'll just say, yeah, because I think here in the conditions, single condition equal to here, so we can say greater than, right? So, and the first value is the back to the action output and number of items. All right. So if the number of items is greater than and 0, right, we're going to work down. See, it lights it up here for you. Number of list items is greater than 0. You can see it right there. Now, if you want to, you can give this action a documentation. You can click that. You can add some more notes about that so that someone else. We can also name the action. So when you're looking at the tree, let's see here. Do they belong to a family? All right. Boom. Now we know what that part's for. Same with this back end call here. We didn't do it, but let's go ahead and give it. Get a list of family for this email. There we go. So now we know what that does. Queries the rows, and this one does belong. And now we've got so easy, true or false. What are we going to do in each path, right? So we've got here, if they're on the true side, let's just navigate to the home page, right? They've already in a family. So we're going to add over here, navigate to, and then we're going to say the home page, right? But if it's false, I'm going to move this. So you can actually just right click, not right click, left click on the triple dots, cut the action over here, click on the paste, boom, the thing's moved. It's easy. Now you can got over here, and we're going to navigate to create profile. Simple. Now the issue is like I said, it's really not create profile. I should have renamed it when I was looking at it earlier, but I didn't. So let's get this list down here, and I'm gonna go ahead and click on that, and I'm gonna go ahead and change this. So to change it, when we click it, we need to go all the way to the very topmost item in the list. There it is, scaffold. Create. We'll say create family, and that way we know what it's for. All right, so now we've got it navigating. Now what's cool is if we go back to where we just were, we'll go back to the sign up page and go here in the actions. We renamed that, and guess what? It automatically showed up here. So made it easy for us. All right, that's it. So no matter what they go on this page, they sign in and they go through all this. It inserts the row, checks their family, and if they are goes to a home page, and if not, it goes to the create family page. And that's it. It's very simple. I'm going to end it at here today, and the next thing we'll do is we'll actually try to go through this process, but first we got to set some row level security. So we'll go into some details about that row level security. All right, stay tuned for the next one.